Hello everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video here and giving it a watch. I wanted to make a quick editor's note. Basically, the last video took an extra long time for me to upload, pretty much just because I had gotten over a sickness and I started a new job as well, so those factors took the video even longer to make. So if you are watching this right now, thank you so much. The video on screen was my last upload. Feel free to check it out, and thank you to everybody who has clicked and subscribed. Happy to have you on board. And now to the video. Half-Life 2. Not much else I have to say. We all know it, we all love it, and we've all had a great time playing it. Valve's critically acclaimed sequel to the first Half-Life that rocked the gaming world did so yet again. On the surface, we can see that the Earth itself has changed, and pretty much every level inside of Half-Life 2 is both recognizable and demonstrates the qualities of the new Source engine. But the game that we all grew up with, made memories with, and definitely picked up from brick and mortar stores back in the day, did not have as enlightened of a development process, to put it lightly. The cover of the game that we all grew up with, showing Gordon Freeman, unintentionally hid a lot more darkness and a crazy story that so many people had no idea had even happened.
5 years. Wow.
Where to even begin? The Half-Life 2 that you and I know, that was released with retail, and that I grew up with personally, can be categorized by a lot of different aspects in it. The storytelling mechanics, the gunfights, the combat, and the enemies and how they operate. But all of these different mechanics and aspects of the story had a much, much darker version and a much, much darker implication.
Pretty sure we were going to fail. And then Half-Life was successful. It was like a lot more successful than we had any reason to expect.
It's no secret that Half-Life 2 began development pretty much right after the first Half-Life came out, and because it was such a success, the team had gotten started on a lot of concepts right away. There's different eras of development cycles that the beta does have, and the original storyline being what it is, we are going to be using two different amazing mods today. I would definitely recommend you guys play them if you haven't yet. The footage from the mods I've played that reconstruct the original storyline we're talking about today are the mods called Raising the Bar Redux 3 or Redo 3 and then Dark Interval. So these mods are fantastic. I'm planning on making my own video about them separately. Those are going to be what is allowing us to visualize the really dark and quite frankly very unique aspects of the Half-Life 2 beta, the dark vision, the original storyline. One of the main pillars of Half-Life as a story is consequences. So, because the first Half-Life exceeded all expectations and did such a phenomenal job, really showed that deep and intelligent stories could be told in first-person shooter games, the team at Valve, and specifically Mark Laidlaw, had to create an antagonist, something truly menacing beyond belief, something that branches into every almost conceivable way of existing, a true prime antagonist, something that almost couldn't be beat, something that had such force and power to it. It really is left up to the imagination how vast this force is. It took our home, the beautiful and once enjoyable planet Earth, and turned it into another one of its husks, something that we never thought could be possible for a planet our size, things that almost you can't imagine. And this scale, this ingenuity behind this antagonist in the story is really one of the most pivotal and fundamental things to making the Half-Life 2 original story as groundbreaking as it is. whether they be seen or, as G-Man says, unseen. The repercussions of things that happen inside of the multiverse and the universe that Half-Life exists in, we get to experience as the player. Inside of the beta, the original storyline, we see a much, much different version of Earth than what we have been given in the retail version. The original plot ideas of our environment being back on planet Earth, not in the 90s or early 2000s anymore, but much after that, was catastrophic, cataclysmic, dystopian, and really created such a world of no hope. Really, when I see the beta concept art and I see how the world looked during this time, every aspect of how Valve and the team created this world, from art assets, from sounds, from the music in the game, really was to communicate a totalitarian interdimensional empire's might and how that would feel, how that would look. And being rendered in the Source engine at the time, with the technology it provided, which was groundbreaking during its release, it did that so astonishingly well, scarily well.
This is the CBS Evening News, with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
A story out of New Mexico has captured the attention of the nation. Reports are coming in of a significant incident near the Black Mesa Research Facility, one of the nation's largest research complex. CBS's Elizabeth Palmer reports.
Details are scarce at this hour, but eyewitnesses in the area have reported sightings of increased military presence over the New Mexico region. Trains of tanks and armored vehicles are moving towards an area that has seen rarely any military.
The impetus that got us to where we are in Half-Life 2 in the original story, and just how bad it's going to get for humanity and for us as the player, really circles back to the concept of cause and effect, of consequences. It was because of the catastrophic disaster at Black Mesa that we had inadvertently alerted the prime force behind really why the game and the story and Earth is how it is. This prime force goes by no other name than the Combine. These guys, I made a video on previously if you wanted to check it out. Mark Laidlaw and the team over at Valve wanted to create something that truly earned the name of being the antagonist in one of the world's best game series, and the lore and other aspects that make this antagonist just that goes far, far deeper than most people even realize. We'll hear from Breen in the original Half-Life 2 game released, well, not original, but the retail, that he describes it in this way.
Satellites colonized by sentient fungi, gas giants, inhabited by vast meteorological intelligences, worlds stretched thin across the membranes where the dimensions intersect. Impossible to describe with our limited vocabulary.
It's this description alone that I would definitely say is the linchpin in what makes the Combine unique as an antagonist. Half-Life 2 in the story takes place so much on Earth from Gordon Freeman's perspective. The implications that Half-Life and Mark Laidlaw infused into the Combine, the unseen, but the things that are alluded to, are really where the horror aspect of Half-Life 2 comes into play. Because as we can see from the beta footage from the original storyline, was much more horror infused than what we had in the original retail game. To mixed reviews, personally, I feel like Half-Life 2 absolutely should be a game more centered around its horror core, simply because of everything happening inside the story with the Combine, how the Combine use living creatures, turn living creatures into their own soldiers and monsters is really horrific. The endless supply of fascinating things about the Half-Life 2 beta really has no end. What was intriguing about this the most is that Valve and Mark Laidlaw and the rest of the development team throughout the years were really creating and crafting a world that was more than unique. It was genre-defining almost, simply because, imagine this, what other game world or game universe is there that you play as a theoretical science major person, theoretical physics guy, who just got out of cryogenic stasis, suspended in time-space continuum for 20 years while the world around him that he once knew, his family, his friends, his colleagues, all came to a burning, torturous end, only to come back and don a multi-purpose hazard suit, bright orange, firing alien weaponry, and taking down a multi-universal empire. You really just think about it like this, and it's beyond unique. One of a kind, really. A truly fascinating, stark contrast to the retail game we got as well is the size of the campaign. Originally in the story of the Half-Life 2 beta, Gordon Freeman and us, the player, were going to be seeing a lot more of the post-7-hour war, post-Combine takeover planet Earth. We would go to locations such as the actual City 17, the canals, the wasteland, even being able to take on the Combine in their main depot facility, and finally link up with Resistance members and guerrilla fighters for humanity in the Arctic Circle. The variety of locations that the Half-Life 2 beta story, the original idea for the game, was supposed to take place in is really epic. I really think that Gabe Newell, when he asked the Valve development team to make a game that would be one of the best sequels ever made, alongside Halo 2, Halo 3, Bioshock 2, things of this nature, it was going to be a grand and massive story taking place in a variety of different places that were crucial to the story of Half-Life 2, retaking Earth and ceasing the oppression of the Combine. For me, what defines Half-Life 2 is not what was inside of the game, but what was missing. Before I even found out that there was an unintentional beta leak and that the original ideas and content of the game got out without Valve's intention to release it, I already noticed some interesting pieces of content, interesting pieces of audio, gameplay, levels that seem to be missing something. And in retrospect, when I look back on the original storyline of Half-Life 2, it felt long, but it seemed like things didn't really connect all the way. There was missing spaces, or some kind of missing link in between the chapters, I felt like. And it wasn't until around 2014 when I was just scrolling on YouTube one day and I actually found images of something that looked absolutely fascinating. I thought they were more akin to, simple mods that the Half-Life 2 community made, until I dug a little deeper and I found out about the beta and the leak that happened. This is what Gaben had to say about it.
As access. Like, you start off with something that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and you start pulling on that sweater thread.
Gabe's brother had a company called Tangis, and they made wearable computer stuff. So he was kind of winding it down, and he had one or two Unix servers that hosted the Tangis.com domain name. Unfortunately, they were put inside the firewall and didn't have the latest Linux or whatever security updates on them. And so this kid from Germany was able to sort of exploit his way into that. He sat there for months, I think. He was able to sync the build, all the source code.
It's almost ironic in an interesting way how the cause and effect factor plays here. It was because of the security not being the tightest at Valve during this time that there was a hacker by the name of Axel Gimbe, not sure how to pronounce it, who was able to gain access to the entire Valve repository, the entire Valve backend.
The leak of the game, the hack of our network and the leak of the game, how much that kind of shattered that confidence.
It was like, having a movie that you're working on be spoiled for the world. That's how it felt.
It was because of this person that the world even became aware, and by effect, millions of other people became aware that there was a whole other side, an unseen face, to what exactly was going on behind the scenes at Valve. The picture it painted was stark from what we had gotten in the Half-Life 2 retail version, but ultimately showed a much darker side of what was going on, not only in the story and how the concepts were removed from there, but also what was happening at Valve and, by an effect, happening to Gabe. Besides the myriad of locations that were ultimately scrapped from the Half-Life 2 retail game due to either time constraints or not having enough time to actually make it polished for the players, another big change that happened in the game is the inventory. In Half-Life 2, as the retail game, there's a lot of weapons that we have a selection of, but in the Half-Life 2 original storyline, there was so much more weapons. Some of these may have been considered redundant, some of them might have not had a very markable place inside of the sandbox, but ultimately each one, thanks to different mods like what's showcased here, brought back a lot of those original weapons, and they all are very fun to use and add a very grounded sense of realism to the Half-Life 2 story. It isn't just cool alien weapons, but a lot of grab-and-go human survival weapons really anybody would have used in that situation, and maybe were even employed some during the 7-hour war from survivors and soldiers alike. A part of me also feels like Valve intentionally got rid of a lot of the cut concepts from the actual storyline, the original storyline. I don't blame them for doing this. A lot of the original ideas in the storyline, such as the Combine belligerently draining Earth's resources right before our very eyes, taking our water, restricting an average citizen's food intake and water as well, things that are very oppressive like this, mention and add to my point I made earlier where the developers and Valve wanted to create a world that just had no hope, which is why it was more impactful that we as the players are doing what we are doing in the game. These things, although they were very impactful, were kind of depressing at some points. And that's just because it painted such a realistic picture of how bad a lot of these elements are and are to play through. It haunts the average person to think about what it might be like to be a citizen, well, more like a prisoner inside of City 17 in your day-to-day life. No food, well, scraps for food, barely any water, and if you do get water, it makes you forget. And on top of that as well, as if it couldn't get any worse, the air that you're breathing in is meant for a whole other species of aliens that have yet to come through a portal to have a staging operation on Earth. So the air, you can't even breathe either. Real depressing stuff. All in all, the Half-Life 2 beta, the original story, the original dark vision, as what this entire video expose is all about, is a mountain of information, a mountain of unused concepts, things that would have changed how the game plays, things that really amplify, modify, and exemplify a lot of the emotional beats of the story, just how it changes, its original loops and turns and things that we all experienced when we played the retail game were, for the most part, still the same. but it would have hit so much different, and it would have felt a lot different given the context and how the world establishing went in the beta storyline and in the beta project. Thankfully though, there's so much mods out there from so many talented, hard-working modders, development teams, people who have brought the unseen and forgotten vision to light as best as they can with the tools that they've been given. I can't commend them enough, and I really do appreciate my fellow content creators covering this subject in every way that they have as well, to illuminate and bring to light the lost dark vision of Half-Life 2's story. Time and time again though, no matter if I'm playing the original release of Half-Life 2 or the fascinating beta, the original plot that never was, with all of its elements that never were, there's one constant that Half-Life teaches us, all of us, and it is that even though we can be the right man in the wrong place, the impact that we all have, and the good, the fight that we all wage for those that we care about and for what's right, makes all the difference in the world. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This took quite a while to make, so I really apologize for that. The schedule is consistent, but the things that happen inside the schedule, on the other hand, not so much. But thank you so much, everybody, for giving this video a watch. I'm so thankful for everyone who subscribed. I am at a loss for words how fast this channel and our community is growing. It's all thanks to you. So thank you so much, everybody, sincerely, for subscribing, sticking around, supporting me, and enjoying the content. I do it all for you guys. I'm excited as we grow our community to connect more on different topics and different games, and of course, always being able to hear what you guys have to say and what you think. I take your feedback and your criticism, of course, in proper light, and I hold it to heart. So thank you so much, everybody, for being able to spend the time with me today and enjoying this video. I have more on the way, and tell me how you think about this new format if you guys would as well. I like to be in my videos, but I don't know if maybe this kind of format without me being in it is more cinematic, or if you like both, just let me know. Anyway, as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I have more videos on the way, and until then, guys, stay strong, stay bright side, Spartans.